Today's guest put his blood, sweat and tears creating a massive lotus flower sculpture out of wood, over 5 meters tall and 20 meters wide, knowing full well it'd get burnt down. Now that's hot. Hello, you creative genius. Thank you so much for joining this episode of Art on Fire, a connective podcast for participants of events that focus on arts, community, self-expression. Join the community on Patreon to connect with people that focus less on the fearful, scary, annoying things that are going on the news and social media, and instead are building big, beautiful, fun, connective, expressive events and things. Today's guest, Neesh Peacock, has done just that. He was the lead of the 2019 temple at the West Australian Burning Man event, Blazing Swan. He created an 11-piece structure that felt like a holy place. In its center stood an electrified tree, and when set alight, this temple brought a crowd of 3,000 spectators to reverent silence. While silence may feel profound, Neesh also likes to make noise, dig psy-trance and the Tasmanian two-step, which probably inspired Neesh to create a roving DJ stage known as Mariana. Picture an anglerfish, that's the creepy looking fish at the bottom of the sea with the light dangling of an antenna coming out of its forehead. Now picture it as big as a car with a DJ inside of it driving around with dancers in tow. A roving party that'll put a smile on anyone's face, especially during a time when partying indoors was highly restricted. Neesh is constantly pushing himself to go and grow beyond his own limits, and is now upskilling rapidly, studying boiler making, so that no doubt he can one day create some mind-blowing large fire-breathing metal machine that would put Hal's moving castle to shame. He thinks differently. And so do all the genius types. And if you want to expand the way that you think, then you're going to need to learn the Genius Ignition System. Participate now. Every time you do, 100% of the time people do, they have an inspired thought within 24 hours of listening to the podcast. Here's how it works. We're going to rub our hands together. And I mean you, wherever you are, rub them together. And in just a moment's time, at the end of the countdown, we're going to do a simultaneous clap and a declaration. 3, 2, 1.
I've touched a genius.
I've touched a genius. That's declaration. You know it now. Let's enjoy the show.
Yeah, g'day, Neesh.
Hi.
How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, Neesh, we go back to working on Temple when you were running the Temple thing, and I got to come and work with the crew. For people who don't know what Temple is or what that one word is, how would you introduce it to a broader public who are not a burner?
Or a quiet space for reflection, I guess.
Yep.
But it's whatever people want to take out of it or put into it.
Yep. So, a quiet space for reflection, and it's a quiet space for reflection that gets burnt to the ground.
It does.
What's that about?
I think it is a space where you can leave things out of your life, and take some time out of the hectic party, and just anything that you want to leave, whether physical or just emotional or spiritual.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the event, it's burnt.
Yeah.
Preferably quiet, but that changes.
Yeah. So it's a quiet space where people can come and leave things knowing full well that they're going to be burnt down, and it's a way, I guess, that people can practice letting go of something and watch it go up in flames, literally. Because they put something in there and it goes up in flames. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why did you want to create the temple? How did that come to you in the first place?
After the second trip to Burn in the States, and just came back from that and kind of had my ignition to start creating again after a few years out of uni, where there was quite a slow area in creating there. And it just, I don't know, the temple space at Burn was really special. So I wanted to come back, and it just, once I get an idea in my head, I'm a little bit pig-headed with it, and and get a bit fixated on it. So, and temple was it. And it worked out that I had the right people around and just pushed forward with the application, and it went from there, really.
Yep. So you're, if I understand correctly, you're studying arts at uni, left uni and didn't do so much arts, and then what? And then Burning Man was just like, no, I got to get back onto that, or
So I think it changed my major, Bachelor of Contemporary Arts at UTAS, and changed the major throughout the visual arts from ceramic to what else was, I think, painting for a little bit, photography originally, and then finally into sculpture. And then after that, just had a lot of downtime without creating, even though I'd created a lot throughout my life and was also always making random things. It just took a back seat. And then, that trip to Bern, the first one was, you just walk out onto the player, and the first night I just started crying. I was like, oh, these are my people. This is like, people are doing crazy things, and like there's nothing stopping you. So
what was the temple design for the Burns that you've seen?
The first one was the 2014 one. Having a blank with the guy's name, David Best, his 2014 temple, which was just so intricate, so much plywood just cut into this, like something what you would imagine a religious temple to look like.
Like a Buddhist or like a Christian? Or
so the top dome and then just spread out into that, like kind of like, what is it, like that White House shape, that top dome shape, and then just so much detail. And that was, really special. And then the 2017 Burn was kind of stripped back a bit raw. I think they tried to use a more basic material of logs and this multiple spire kind of design, which was lovely and burnt really well. Yeah.
So you were studying sculpture in an arts university, and that was a bit flat, I'm guessing, or it sounds like it. And then you went to Burning Man, and you were like, I fucking want to build some massive, crazy thing.
Yeah, bigger the better. I think the artwork there is you don't see it anywhere else in the world. It really pushes boundaries, and I don't know. I think I get a bit. The gallery space it's entertaining. It's good. There's amazing work, but it's the environment that it's in. It's a bit like you must go here and you must enjoy artwork at this precise time as you move around
in a gallery.
Yeah, in a gallery.
Yeah.
Whereas it's a bit more fluid out on the Burning Man player, where you just come across things on your day-to-day business.
Just exploring the world, and there's wonderful things just everywhere.
Just
look like they've just arrived haphazardly there, but actually a lot of work has gone into every single one of those things in the background.
Hugely.
In some way. I'm curious, the people at university who studied sculpture with you, do you keep in touch with them, and have they managed to build some sculptures, or has this opportunity to play in the Burn allowed you to build big things way quicker than you had anticipated?
Keep in touch with a few, social media kind of, you follow people, and people have gone into gallery work, which is like a major job that can come out of art school, I guess. And a lot of people working in 2D and still creative, but I haven't seen anything major from my cohort over the past few years, but it doesn't mean that that's not happening.
Where did the design for the Lotus come from?
Just was in the middle of night shift up on a mine site.
And sounds like a place of inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely.
A bit of sleep deprivation.
Probably.
The thoughts will get past the normal talkative mind.
Yeah.
So, that's an interesting one.
Well, I think, people ask me this a lot, and I'm like, I think, and then they get disappointed. It's just, I'll just be sitting there and something will pop into my head, and that's how it works.
Yeah, I think that's always how it works. You just kind of got to notice it.
Yeah. It's not like, I think if I try and force to create something for somewhere, it's a dead end. Whereas going about your day-to-day business at work, if you're bored, a lot of boring jobs, then bang, there it is. Okay, let's do that. Yeah.
How did you get the ability to lead the temple build? Because it's a big structure. Like how did you get that? And because it's quite a lot of budget that goes to it as well, and then you've got to lean in on a lot of people to come participate in the creation of it as well. What was the setup for that there?
That was a learning curve setup.
Yep.
Yeah. A bit of you were with me on that build, Joseph. That's how we met, like you said. And like, I mean, that was a learning curve for me as much as anyone of how to run a team. And then.
How'd you get there? How'd you even get to the point where, so you applied through Blaze?
Yeah, applied when the applications for the build opened up. And I don't think anyone else put in for Temple that year, to my understanding. So like maybe one by default. And then you got to work with the arts crew that was in that year and the committee, and they're amazing. They're really supportive and worked with us with their idea, with their knowledge from past builds and that.
Yeah. I think I recall that in previous Blazing Swan events that you built a giant chair. Is that right? And had you built any other big giant things before that?
When I was a kid, I remember Dad was getting some work done on a dam, and I was just like, can I get 2 long strip like piles of dirt put up? I was just going to make 2 waves, so I started bending tin and throwing dirt over it for the barrel, and then like was just going to plant it out with some like plant with blue flowers on it and that kind of thing. And then university didn't go huge size. And then there was just that, so then that dead period. And then I think Burn, I was like, oh, actually I want to work in large scale, small stuff's fiddly, and I don't know, I think bigger impact and more of a statement, or just easier to work with. You can throw more detail in something quite large. Yeah.
So you had built a chair, and then you applied for the temple, and then you were given the reins to just go ahead and build a temple, and they're like, here's our budget, like make something, we trust you.
Pretty much. Yeah. I would encourage anyone to do it.
If you want to build something big, that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you for what you did with the temple. It was really, really beautiful. There's a story that I've resisted sharing on some of these previous episodes because I was like, if I'm going to share this again, I'd like to chat about it with Neesh again. And that's one of the things that, aside from being part of the team, one of the things that I got to let go of at the temple, which was my dad's ashes. And I like that story because prior to the temple burn, my dad had passed away, and I didn't know what to do with my dad's ashes, and neither did my family, and none of us knew. We weren't really ready for Dad to pass. And so Dad's ashes were given to me by my mum in an old Myer tin, right? And it was wrapped in a Myer shopping bag, and Myer's a department store in Australia. And I was just so like at loss with what to do with this thing, and I dragged it from one house that I lived in to the next house that I lived in, and I wasn't going to be putting it on a fucking urn or over the fireplace, and I didn't know what to do with it. It was just this thing that I had, and it felt really gross and disrespectful to have Dad in a Myer tin that was in my sock drawer that I was didn't want anywhere, and so for that burn, that was one of the nice parts for me. One of the many nice things in that experience, but I was able to like take those ashes, and I put it into a slightly nicer box, into a decorative box, still a cheap one. But a nicer decorative box, and then I was able to put that into the temple, so that as the temple burnt down, then ashes, joint ashes, and ashes to ashes, and then that was gone. It did actually spin on me because Kim, in our crew, also then after the burn went and collected ashes from the burn and put them into little jars and returned it to me. But now I have a nice little jar. It's cute, it's beautiful. I respect it. It's awesome. So it wasn't like a full letting go, but it was a correct amount of letting go, and I converted that horrible Myer tin into a jar that's now a memory that I love to have.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that was, I mean, that moment that you're talking about, well, I mean, the moment for you was the first moment for me when I realized, so there's a bit of the story there. Do you remember being in the middle that day?
Yeah.
And it was towards the end, we're about to, make it ready for public. And Deck and myself were in there, just a few last finishing touches, and thought it was a friend's box that they'd left in there, their cigarette box.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
so
right.
we're picking it up and shaking it.
Oh, boy, put that down. Yeah, yeah.
It's locked. Come on, get your stuff. And you're just doing something in the corner very quietly, and we looked around, and you kind of gave us the look, and it clicked to what that was.
Yep.
Like, oh my shit.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, man. We'll just sit this right down here.
Yeah. I don't actually remember that part all
my
well, but
God.
that's all good.
Yeah, well, that was, I mean, that team environment was amazing. And, I think there was respect both ways there. But I think for me, that was the very first moment where I realised the intensity of what goes into the temple and what people use that space for. It's so fucking meaningful.
Yeah.
And that was the tipping point from the build into releasing it to the world. Was the realization that you'd had that moment.
Can you describe the feeling of what's going on and the feeling that you're looking to help create for people? I know this is a tough one, but this is a beautiful energy that's trying to be conveyed. How would you describe what's going on when that temple burns down?
For me personally, it was happiness. Like there was a joy there of you go in building that, knowing that that's its life trajectory, that's where it's going. So there was a joy, and it got to and it was a joy that it burnt how we'd planned it. Even though you can't control fire to a certain degree, it did.
Well, you can if you're working with Hannah Priest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. So there was a joy about how that played out. Throughout the event was quite hard to be up there. Gone up to check a few things throughout the week, and you see people in there spending their time there, and I think that was more emotional than anything I was going to put into it. It was to see other people in that space. Yeah, pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm getting goosebumps just recalling it now. I remember on the first day of the event, so the temple burns down on like the third or fourth day or something like that. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and
Sunday. Is it Sunday? Sunday.
Yeah, fifth day. And I remember on the first night of partying at some time about 1 a.m, I was like, oh yeah, I'll go check out the temple, and I was like in party mode. And I wandered. It's a bit of a trek, and we wandered the trek down into the temple area, and there was just this like stillness, and people were reflecting, and it was deep, and it's like 1 a.m. and everyone else is partying, but in that space there was already just this like serious processing and letting go and work being done, and it was beautiful, like to immediately see that this thing was immediately doing what it intended to do. Was to hold that space for people to let go of things and grow on through that.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah, it was really cool. Before that or since that, you were working up on the mines. Had you done a lot of work where you were leading large teams on build projects?
No.
So this was like a real like opportunity to play in a big space like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, that was a learning curve. And I think me and you, like you were probably, we had some interesting conversations throughout that build with the way your mind works, engineering and planning and organisation.
Yeah.
And
well, you artists are all fucking crazy, you know that, right?
Yeah, well, I learned that you need to have plans down on paper for people to look at. They they can't read your mind. There was this 3D model made of the temple out of balsa wood and a few ideas down on paper, but there wasn't the technical side of the build down anywhere.
Yeah.
And that was, you need to give people something to work from. They can't just be looking at you and you expect to know them what to do next, which I forget about because I do like working by myself, probably for a few different reasons. The main one being, it's only your own judgment in the build process rather than other people going, have you not organised this or this? Or yeah, so definitely lessons learnt going into future projects where teams will be required.
But I guess that's part of the artistic process is you're still trying to work it out yourself as you go. Like you're learning in real time as you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Everyone's seeing it come together in real time because that's the shared experience there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then so I haven't got to actually spend any time with Mariana. So that was a creation that started to be birthed after that, the Temple Blaze. And that was meant to debut at one of the Blazing Swans that got cancelled due to COVID, and then I think it came out another one. Is that all correct so far? Roughly?
Yeah. 2020 cancelled, and then 2021.
Any recollection as to where that moment of inspiration came from?
None at all.
None.
No.
It was just like, and then next.
Oh no, there was a truck on the side of the road, like just parked out the front of this house, like this small truck, with the grass growing around it, just up from our house, and I just drove past it so many times. I was like, "What's that thing doing?" Like, and approached the people in the house, and they said, "Oh, like we rent the house. The guy owns a garage down around the corner." So I went and chatted to him, and he's like, "Oh, I don't really want to sell it." Talked him around, and he sold it, and then
cool.
Just went from there.
So you got the truck first, and then you were like,
I think it happened around this, like an idea, and then all of a sudden there's the vehicle that I need for it. Yeah, I can't actually remember where the idea came from with that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this one as a piece of art was predominantly it's this giant anglerfish that you built over the top of a truck.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And it's predominantly metal?
Yeah. Trampoline frames.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Cool. Like the most of it, the whole thing?
Pretty much all the shape. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So you just scoured the secondhand markets online for trampoline frames to collect?
Yeah. So I was going to get the steel bent originally. And so this is why I wanted to learn to weld. I'd never touched a welder before this.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I want to build an art car. Okay, I need to learn to weld. And then, had some mates teach me basics and just went from there. And and then Louis put me onto trampoline frames for curved steel, which, I mean, brand new steel, you don't really want to be using that if you can recycle anyway. It costs a fortune to get bent and, and get it rolled and all that kind of stuff. So, Gumtree.
Yep.
Free.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I bought one for $20 and that was the smallest one for the tail. So, I don't know, go figure.
Yeah. So she's a giant anglerfish made of trampoline frames.
Yeah.
And I understand you organised a fairly sizable bike ride party around Fremantle town that wound up debuting Mariana. Was that when she was debuted? Is that correct?
It was, yeah.
Yeah. So like a 100 person-ish bike ride around town.
Yeah.
And then you all went to a warehouse and danced around this crazy fish.
Yeah. But I can't remember the timeline of that, but back to Mariana there, you had so it wasn't actually quite finished by the time the event would have gone ahead before it was cancelled. But before that, I was like, what am I going to do? I can't just have this frame. And I started playing around with core flute to cover it, but just wasn't getting it. And then Rye from the Nest was just like, Lycra, man, you got to use Lycra. It's the best material to cover stuff quickly. It gives great shape. You can play with it. You can paint it. I was like, all right. So I gave in, and then I was like, I'm not a painter. I don't work in 2D. Like, my drawing's atrocious. And had been talking to someone about Lucy Barrett Kicks, and like her work is just phenomenal. She's my favorite painter for sure. Like, just crazy artwork. Approached her and she was willing to come on board, and I just went, look, this is a rough idea of what I'm thinking. Kind of deep space, dark colors, stars, like kind of make it this intergalactic fish. You know, they're both, you know, it's from the dark depths, you know, the Mariana Trench. And so I was like, that's my ideas, but like free reign, go for it. And she just, I mean, just turned it into what it is. You know, I built the frame, but she's made it the kind of just the intensity and the craziness of what it looks like at night under black light.
Yeah. Where does she live now?
In the driveway.
In the driveway?
Yeah.
Just covered up or just hanging out, just being
the cab's
a public
covered
artwork?
up.
Yep.
But yeah, there's just like, so there's the jaws. It all unpacks so it can carry itself.
Yep.
Yeah.
How would you transport it to an event? Would you drive it there, or would you have to put it on a flatbed
I
truck?
need to get it registered, do a bit of work to it. But it just went down on a truck to Blaze.
Oh, so you put it on the back of you put the truck on the truck.
Yeah.
And
probably the most
terrifying
bloody loading I've ever done. Yeah, and then assemble it.
Assemble it when you get to site.
Yeah. It takes a bit. There's a bit of fucking around with it.
Where would you like to go with her? Am I right to call it her, by the way?
Yeah. Physically or like design wise? Oh, physically?
Yeah.
I did apply. I reached out to Pride.
Which one?
Parade. The year it got cancelled.
The one Perth or Pride Parade Perth.
Yep. And
they wanted to be part of the float.
Yeah.
Ah, cool.
Yeah. Yep. So, but again, that was the year it got cancelled, and then did it run last year? I think it just ran out of time.
Yeah, I think it did.
Too busy. It's a big thing to set up just for a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you'd be interested in putting it in some kind of street parade or some kind of public float.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what the fines would be just to get it going and drive down a main road. But
Not willing to find out?
Nah.
Yeah, cool. What do you want to create next, or what would you create if you just could create anything? It's a bit of an open-ended one.
I mean, there's projects going on now for some festivals, which
you're working on some.
Yeah.
Yeah, care to share? Are you able to share?
Yeah.
Yep.
So one for Out of the Woods Festival down in Busselton.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Got approached to make a piece for that. So
what are you making?
A large sun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And again, like just I've gone, how am I going to make this? Trampoline frames are great. So just started collecting those again. And
if it works.
Yeah. But this one's fun. So yeah, just a change.
So that's a piece that you like. Were you commissioned to do it, or did you know them, or are you doing it as a favor?
Yeah. So Ben from Bird's Nest approached and said, can you there's a few pieces we want made, but it's take your pick of the one that stands out. And I thought the sun, it sounds a bit like plain, but you could play with it. And
so they had already some ideas of some pieces they wanted to be a part of their festival.
Yeah.
And so then they looked out to artists, and I guess because you've already started creating big crazy things, they were like, we can hit Neesh up for this.
Yeah. Which was nice.
Yeah.
I think he was surprised by the size of it when he came to have a look the other day. He's like, oh God, it's a lot bigger than what I was expecting, but happy with it. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And you're working some others as well?
Slowly starting to plan ones for festivals later in the year. But I mean, to really one that's in the future again will be another build.
Mm-hmm.
That's always sitting there. Slowly getting added
Blaze.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, like another temple or an effigy or.
Temple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you already know what it is? Obviously, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Wicked. So building a lot of things for festivals. Would you like your arts to be elsewhere outside of festivals?
Yeah. I haven't really given it much thought.
Yeah.
I mean, there is that thought of like, even though the gallery space doesn't appeal to me too much.
Yep.
It might be fun to create a body of work and then show it.
Yep.
But it's time.
I haven't found out who did this yet, but as soon as I saw it, I thought of people like you, and I also thought that I would like to interview them, so I got to find out. But in Perth, in East Perth towards girls' school, there's a giant brand new playground that's been built, and it's got these big giant metal bank shears, and it has a slide from like 4 stories tall. There's this big steel slide that slides
I've heard
down,
of this.
and the slide is really fast as well, and it's full of netting, and it's easy to climb up. It's fun, it's interactive, it's engaging, and so there's this one giant metal section, but then there's one section that's made of like woodwork play toys where you can swing and hop between logs and whatnot. I love it. I saw it and I was like, this is genuinely public art meets a kid's playground meets just a fun place to hang out and sit and watch, just done so bigly and wonderfully. It was really cool, and it's the kind of thing that I'm like, oh, these are like the things that I see at festivals, but now being brought into the world. Because it is an art piece, but it's an interactive art piece. And I guess the temple and Mariana are like that as well. Like, you can go and touch, and you can go and play with it, and you can walk around it, and you can, the temple you can write on and leave things in. Don't typically write on things in public because that's called graffiti. But yeah, it was very cool. I'd like to find out. I personally would like to find out more about how people pull off those kinds of things. Yeah,
well, I think the budget for that was phenomenal.
Oh, definitely.
It was so big. Yeah. A couple of guys I'd worked with, builders, were sent on that job for a bit and just said, it was so hectic.
I guess once you start working in public space, things like that, you've got to be able to imagine every possible way that every possible person could possibly get hurt on it. Yeah. Or what silly thing they could do, or what the weather could do, or every other thing on top of that as well. So you got to get approval from this body and this thing, and it becomes a really big project. But then it stays though. That playground's going to be there that'll probably be there in 50 years time. Right?
Yeah,
like which is really cool for a public thing. So
there's one near our place at Bibra Lake.
Oh, yep.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, just the adventure playground there.
Oh my God.
It's got like the
it's crazy.
It feels like a Ninja Warrior free train course. Yeah, there's like the bicycle thing that you use with your arms on the
Yeah. I haven't been in there. I've just ridden past.
That's great. Go on.
Yeah. They lock it at night though.
I got
full of kids,
the fence is only 3 foot tall, Neesh. You can jump over that. I always go and play in a good playground when I see it, and I go and take a look and see what's happening in there. So so big public artworks or big things that you want to do at festivals. Is there a festival you'd like to go to with some artworks? Which one would you be the most chuffed with if they would give you a call and be like, hey man, can you create something for us?
We'll Burn in the States. Yeah, for sure. I'd love to take work over there.
Yep.
Logistical nightmare from here. But
yeah, you'd have to go and live there for a little while. Or
jump on with the crew in SF or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to meet some big crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So you do a bit of Mariana features a bit of drum and bass and some psy-trance when you can help it. Are you going to be doing more DJing and spinning, or how's that looking for you?
Bits and pieces.
Bits and pieces?
Yeah, there hasn't been that much in the last few years.
Yep.
Yeah. A lot when I was younger in Tassie, just playing the clubs every weekend, which to think back was horrible. But it comes up, gigs every now and then, and just play at Blaze a bit and that kind of stuff, which is a bit of fun.
Yep.
Yeah. It's finding time to get new music for me.
Yeah.
There's that the artwork, spare time has taken over any spare time that I have.
Goes into artwork and sculpting.
Yeah. And just thinking about art.
And metally work.
Yeah, thinking about welding.
Yeah.
Watching welding videos.
Yeah.
It's kind of taken over my life.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I've watched a couple. I've played with a little bit with a welding torch, but it's definitely not taken over my life in any way. So, are you wanting? Are you going to be working as a metal worker? already working as a metal worker, or just going to pour all of this skill into artworks, or somehow going to join the two?
So started a boiler making apprenticeship last year, kind of at a loss of, I've always had this thing of not knowing what my career was going to be or what I wanted to do. I didn't want to be stuck in one job that I found boring, or which has been, it's gotten me down a fair bit to not have a career. And then it kind of clicked. I hit up a friend who actually is a boilermaker, and I was like, what's a good course to do for welding? And he's pretty cheeky in the best way. And he's like, an apprenticeship. And I was like, oh yeah, there's nothing stopping me doing this. Yeah. So just started applying, and then, 2 or 3 months later got offered one, and just love it. Just absolutely love it.
I was with a friend just this week, Tom, at Boyd Metalwork Industries in some part of the industrial area of Perth, and that's a big pressing, welding, cutting workshop. That's laser cutting out plates with plasma cutters and then making enormous structures. And they're currently putting together the pieces to build three 40-meter tall, 40-meter wide tanks.
Right.
So just it's
industrial
tanks. Yeah. So very tall, very wide, massive tank. And it's industrial work, but it was just phenomenal to walk through the workshop and to see these pieces coming together and being prepared to be moved, and how hard each one is, and the chamfers and the precision that has to go into each one to prepare for the welders to put the plates together so they can build these ginormous metal structures somewhere. I don't even know what it's for.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, really cool. So that's some kind of work that you'd like to be doing, or are you wanting to capture one of those workshops and build a giant sculpture instead?
Aim towards that, and probably aim to work for myself at some stage. But at the moment, I'm really happy just learning from other tradesmen that have been in for either a couple of years or a lot of years. There's so much knowledge out there of how to work with steel and what it does and the different kinds of welding, and just there's just so much to learn. And I am working, it's industrial. That's where you're going to start. But I'm getting paid to make shit. It's not artwork, but I'm still making stuff. This is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely it's assembly and creation of things, and you got to be able to put together an idea that someone else had, essentially, and they draw some stuff out, and then you got to be able to be like, all right, this is how this is going to come together. So
engineers.
Bloody engineers.
That's all I'll say about that.
They don't really know how it's going to come together. They just draw it, and then they just put it onto the
make it monkey.
Yeah. Would you want to move into the space, like once the skills step up? Would you want to be able to be leading large industrial projects, or would you rather save that skill set for an art project, or happy to just develop in both fronts?
For art, for sure. Well, creative, I mean, you can put those industrial kind of working practices and techniques into artwork. So then, there's that transition into creative with bigger teams. But as far as leading industrial kind of jobs, probably not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe just work for the man in that one, and then venture out and do my own stuff. A bit more unique work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. This is just a fun, creative-y one. You've got to organise a floating art car exhibition down the main road of Perth City in 48 hours. How do you do it?
Wouldn't have a clue.
Wouldn't have a clue?
No, I mean, reach out to people that have worked in arts for so many years, and they've worked in that sector of like public things involving public liability and that kind of stuff. But yeah, as far as like doing anything like that by myself and reaching out to the right departments.
Yep.
No.
Just
No.
wait. Well, wait for those events to happen and be like, hey, I got the cast to bring to this event.
Yeah. I think there needs to be more of it.
Yeah.
There needs to be more. I mean, the arts, there is art support, isn't there? But it's not even close to where it should be, or just the scale of what it could be.
Yep.
For public viewing.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of very drab things going on out there, and there's a lot of opportunities for things to be artsy and pretty and well considered that are not in any way artsy or pretty or well considered. It's just very engineering.
Well, I mean, it's the same as your stuff. You know, you like what you guys are doing. That's arts based. You know, your Fringe and that, and like, I mean, that's got a good platform. Fringe has got a good platform, but you know, you have to work for it, and it's called Fringe for a reason. You know, you guys are on the edge of society, even though it's loved by everyone. It's still, the arts doesn't get. I don't feel like it gets the support it needs to be able to give back to the public. It's such a positive thing in the community.
Yep.
You know, just the visual and the community coming together and discussing and experiencing. Yeah, it probably could change a bit.
Yep. I already talked about the playground that I've recently just discovered. But yeah, it makes such a big difference when public landscapes have something beautiful and fun in them. One of the other Perth events that I really like is the Perth Light Laser event that happens once a year, the Winter Lights Festival, which
in Joondalup, is it?
It probably happens in all over the city.
Right.
It definitely happens in the Perth CBD, but it just brings immersive lights where they do the lights laserscaping on buildings, and they make the buildings look like little creatures are running around on them.
Yep.
And I don't know, it just makes the world more immersive and wonderful to be in. It turns a otherwise bland, dead, ugly piece of grey concrete into a world that's fun and creative, and things are playing on there, and changes the entire feeling of a space in an instant. And you can travel through neighborhoods where there are like no examples of anything gorgeous going on, and you can travel through neighborhoods where there's lots of arts going on. I live in a little tiny strip that's like a few of my neighbors are artists, interior designers, architects, all kinds of crazy things.
Yeah.
So our street is just full of surprises. Like everywhere that you go, there's like a little flag post with a little ship on top of it just 3 doors down, and there's a tree painted entirely blue, and then there's a statue of a man made of cork who's rowing a canoe, and there's like all these little bits just on the street, and it's just wonderful just to walk up and down my road, because everyone on my road is just putting creative things out the front. We've got a little mirror statue at the front of our place and a green mannequin that's also next to my shed. It's guarding the shed from people coming to take things. I just put a green mannequin there. No one will ever go in there. It's wicked. I love it. I love.
Where do you live? I'm coming over there.
Yeah, North Freo. Come hang out. It's so dope. Behind Mojo's. It's really great. So, when did you first start falling in love with this? And as I was preparing for this, I got to talk to some of your friends that you've worked with a lot in the past, including Lucy and Deck, and they described something I've got to witness as well, which is just like when you create things, one, you've got just a big happy grin on your face, because you've got to see that this thing that you wanted to create is now created, and then it surprised you that it's actually there, and it's just like it's part of a surprise for you to be like, oh my God, there it is. And then also the reactions that everyone else gets off your works or the things that have come out. Do you recall like when you started experiencing that feeling, or where that desire to do that came from?
No. Probably the first real realization of it was the chair and TV in 2018.
Yep, which is a giant chair and giant television that you built at 2018 Blaze. Yep.
Yeah, I wish I'd known how to weld then, because I would have made it like sturdy enough to climb.
Yep.
It was sturdy enough to stand there for a week, but it would have been great to have.
So did you just used to sit on the sidelines and watch people interact with that piece? And was that like, what does that feel good to see, that people were just like watching it, observing with it, playing with it?
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, it was more observing it at night, going, why have the lights run out at 2 a.m. and no one can see it? But yeah, anything electrical, just, give to someone else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. What would you say has been the biggest learning for you when it's come to being able to go bigger? Like, how have you managed to achieve being able to go so big with some of the things that you've done? Like, how did you go from never having done something big to now building a temple and getting commissioned artworks? Like, what was the biggest thing that you changed that allowed those big things to start coming?
I don't know. I think you just push yourself. If you have an idea, go for it. If it doesn't work, then that's fine. But like, it's probably more likely going to work, especially if you reach out to people with a bit of experience or some input on how to do things better, or just you got to talk to people. You got to look at the way things are built and get ideas. The original idea is still yours, but it's the technical side where you need experience from other people.
Yep.
And I think, you just kind of push, and now, I just go big, and I don't know if there wasn't any real change there. It was just the desire to do it, and then probably stubborn and just kind of keep going.
Just be stubborn.
Yeah.
I like that idea with the original idea still being yours. Like, at the moment, I'm creating a logo for a homebrew beer bottle, and which
is delicious, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I've got the logo. I do these beers with a friend, and I've got the logo designed. But are
you overthinking it, Joe?
No, I'm just going to commission someone to do it for me. So
I'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. But I still feel like it's now collaboration. But I'm quite happy to be like, well, instead of me learning how to create this label, I'm just going to explain to someone who knows how to do it, whose style I like, how to do it, right? I'll be like, can you do this? And then it's instantly a collaboration, because it's not going to be exactly what I picture in my head, but it never would have got down if I didn't go and engage with someone in the first place to be like, how do I do this? Or can you help me do this?
Oh, SketchUp and myself have that exact same relationship at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like quick sketch and then send it around.
Yeah. Or just sit down with someone who knows the software properly and be like, this is what I'm thinking. Can you do this, this, and this?
Sketch up a piece of software.
It's CAD software.
It's CAD software for the industrial side things that you're doing at the moment.
Oh, anything. I mean, a lot of friends I know use it just to throw their ideas up.
Yeah.
I'm just, I don't know.
Yeah.
Just sitting there learning software when I could just, and again, like I've just picked up balsa wood to start making models again, because it's 3D, it's in my hands. I can do exactly how, instead of moving a mouse and the whole thing goes out of the screen.
Yeah.
Like, let's just make the thing in front of me.
Yeah. So you like the use of small models and scale up, because you can build a prototype really quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can get, for me that works.
Yeah. Yeah. Prototyping. Yeah. It doesn't have to be in the bloody computer or on a piece of paper. You can go and build immediately a tiny version of the model and then just make that bigger.
Yeah. And I think in the future I'll make the model and then go to someone who can put it through CAD, and then you're getting your measurements correctly, and you're printing out drawings for crew and yourself to refer back to, and it's that hard copy for people to work from.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that'll totally work, because there's something there. So and
that would have worked for you on the last time.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a contentious issue.
Like, how are we going to make this thing? I can't see it. I don't understand. where
it's like, it's just going to work, man.
Where are the engineering drawings? No, yeah. No, the little model. That definitely works, and you can at least you can create something there as well. You can have something to begin with, because I guess everything starts from nothing. And then you first have to do something, and whether it's go straight to CAD and draw it in CAD, or draw it on a piece of paper, or grab a piece of balsa and shape it into a thing. For big things, it's too hard to go straight to the big thing. It'd be a bit crazy to hold the big image in your head the whole time without any semblance of it. And so you had the first balsa model, and then you're like, all right, this is what I'm creating, but 25 times the size. Or 100 times the size.
I don't know. I'd go straight into the big one.
Go straight into the big
thing?
thing?
Okay. It's that flow state, like what the guys said about being happy on a build. It is like, and just that creative process, you get into that flow state and you look down and it's like 8 hours later and you haven't you haven't eaten, or like you might have drank a cup of water and you're exhausted, but like you've just worked out how things are going together, what works, what doesn't work, and it just grows like that.
Yep.
And that's what happened with the chair and the TV and Mariana as well. It was just put that there. Okay, that looks all right. Run with that. And then if it doesn't fit later on, you just cut it off and move it around a bit and just make it work.
Yep.
But in saying that, now with the apprenticeship, it is making me slow down and be more mindful of, the engineering of something and what works quickly and properly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, which is good for me. I'm able to slow down and do things maybe a bit neater the first time instead of reworking something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Depends what the project is.
Yep.
Yeah.
What would you say to someone who wants to build a big sculpture? What would you say? How would you give them advice as to how to get it done, and how to fund it, how to find people to support it, or how to build it? Any area that you think would be the most useful thing for someone who's wanting to build something big to learn about.
Make sure you've got space to work in.
Yep.
That's probably one of the biggest issues. If you don't have space, you can get a bit out of hand in your backyard, and you start really annoying neighbours, and it doesn't work properly.
You can't go build a 3-story sculpture in your backyard, but you've got to climb up and down it over your fence line.
Funds can vary. I mean, if you're applying for festivals that have grants, go for it. If not, think about ways that you can build that don't cost too much.
Mm-hmm.
You're always going to put a lot of money into your projects, no matter how much grant money you get. Well, I find that's the way for me anyway. Just pump money into some kind of material, whether it's new fixings or like fittings that cost a fortune, but then you've saved like thousands of dollars on recycled steel. So and just go for it. Yeah,
just go for it. Give it a go.
Yeah. It depends how your head works.
Yep.
Some people need that organisation, a lot of reassurance before they jump in, and then some people just start playing around and see where it ends up.
Yep.
Which is fun. Don't stress.
Yep.
Well, saying that, there's a lot of sleep lost over these projects.
Yeah.
Mainly because it's not the stress. It's like, what can I add to it tomorrow, or what can I get done on the weekend?
Brain's thinking it over time, trying to think about what the next bit is. And
exhaustingly.
Yeah. Until the end is there, and then you're like, okay, now it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, man. Anything else that you'd like to share about what you're working on at the moment, or what to look forward to?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Any more questions?
I've got another one that I'm going to ask you after this first recording.
No worries.
So cool. Thanks, Neesh.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, cool. Look forward to seeing more of your things around at festivals and in the public space.
Yeah, look forward to doing more.
Cool. Cheers, mate.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this conversation with Neesh Peacock. My name is Joseph Andrin, and you're listening to Art on Fire. Please check out artonfirepodcast.com to see the full show notes and additional details on all of the guests that we've had on here. Art on Fire is a podcast that I create for you to help us all connect to each other more in this community. There's a whole host of amazing guests coming up that I'd love to tell you about, and I'd also love to hear more about who you'd like to see on this podcast too. Please join us on Patreon. It's a place where you can really connect and see what's going on in this space in the world, learn more about how people have managed to do effective things like get grants and organize communities and work effectively to put together big sculptural pieces, big events, and to transition their careers from enthusiast to someone who is able to produce works of art and community and events that bring together that allow for self-expression as something they do professionally. Lots of love to you guys. Ciao for now.